Difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Now, as true as this may be, why am I saying this? Because I have faith in the aviation industry. We have come such a long way from the early days with the pioneers known as the Wright brothers from December 17th, 1903, with the first controlled and powered flight. We have started with commercial aviation, with airmail, allowing airmail to travel through the air and connect to people around the world. Now, aviation is a multi-billion-dollar industry that has allowed us to benefit economically with creating so many jobs for people, from janitor all the way up to the airport manager and in between. Socially, we're being able to connect with distant lands, with cities, states, countries, islands. We're able to diversify ourselves and understand the cultures and basically the traditions of these distant lands. And we were able to understand life more because traveling is the best education in life. Now, we have progressed with the construction of many airports, but have we been doing the community well? Have we been doing a great service if we have not been benefiting from a sustainable point of view? Question is, are we a sustainable industry? And that is what we have to be informed on. And as leaders of the community and aviation enthusiasts, we need to stay informed on the path that aviation is moving towards. Now, yes, we have built many airports, and airlines have exited and entered the industry. We've seen airlines go out of business, new airlines come in, airlines that merged, such as Continental and United Airlines that have merged in the year 2010. And we have Delta Airlines, we have Etihad, we have the American Airlines, and also domestic airlines with Spirit Airlines, as well as Southwest Airlines. So we have all these airlines that are flying the public to different locations. It could be for business purposes, for pleasure purposes, such as vacation, and essentially for people to market with other people, for businessmen and women to connect with others. And that's the main idea, to connect, but also benefit not just socially or economically, but from an environmental standpoint. The flying public is increasing with the demand for air transportation. Now, we're increasing in the amount of passengers, and we're increasing with the aircraft, but how are we doing with these greenhouse gas emissions? We're polluting the air and the water, and flights are traveling farther distances and burning more fuel, because with the larger aircraft you need larger engines for a proper fuel-air mixture. Now, each aircraft has their range that they could fly, the distances, and then along with the aircraft, there's the airports that have their capacity profiles. Now, the FAA did a study with each airport on it's known as a capacity profile. And with the capacity profile, we are able to understand how many aircraft can fly in and out of the airport every hour of the day, of the month, and of the year. Now, the FAA did a study with LaGuardia Airport, and the results have come in with 80 to 86 aircraft that can be serviced from departures to arrivals fluently in an efficient manner. Now, that can lower with different influences that impact the capacity, such as the weather conditions, as well as the separation requirements that you need between the aircraft. as well as how are the runways and the taxiways configured, along with the construction of the public areas in the terminal buildings. That also plays a role in capacity, how many flights we can get on the schedule. Going back to the environment, we're polluting the environment, and some people would say, well, we are only contributing to 3% of the greenhouse gases. Yes, but remember that there's a demand for air transportation due to the ability to connect to distant lands in less than 24 hours, and being able to trade with other companies, and to, as entrepreneurs also, to network. Now, we're benefiting from those two pillars, socially and economically, but we have not attained sustainability because of the environmental point of view. With the greenhouse gas emissions, we're emitting carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur oxide, nitrogen oxide. And with these engines polluting the environment, we are also creating a noise problem. We're increasing in the amount of decibels, and we need to decrease the amount of decibels in order to cooperate with other businesses, big or small, places of worship, as well as the residential communities, people that live near the airports. We need to accommodate for them as well. Also, besides the reconstruction of the airports, we should also look at technology. And the FAA has a plan known as Next Generation Air Transportation Technology, which could also help us improve on the aircraft with this biplane and change to increase the technology. Now, we have come a far way from biplanes. Now, we have airliners and charter flights. But we can also look at our navigation techniques. And with next generation air transportation, we are modernizing and enhancing the use of the National Airspace System, which consists of airspaces class Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Golf, as well as the airports that are around the world and the navigational facilities with their policies and procedures that come with it. Now, within next generation air transportation technology, there are more enhanced uses of equipment in order to basically improve on how we are navigating throughout this busy airspace. Now, we all know aviation as a complex and technical industry, and we can't just say that this is an ABC 1, 2, 3, this is where we need to be type of situation. But we are the generation that can avoid procrastination across the nation, and we can come to an agreement and a resolution, a long-lasting solution for our problems. So as leaders of the communities we serve, we are a diverse and committed community of students who need to stay informed and educated on the subject of sustainability. And what is our answer? The answer is known as the backbone of technology for next generation air transportation, and it is known as ADS-B. ADS-B stands for Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast, and it is essentially a traffic reporting system. Now, Tom Harper is the director of Aviation, which is an aeronautics company that focuses on technology within aviation. Essentially, technology that is placed within the cockpit of the aircraft for pilots. Now, Tom Harper, the director of marketing for Aviation, he outlined ADS-B and he described the acronym for ADS-B. A stands for automatic. The aircraft are automatically broadcasting their signal to these ground stations known as the ADS-B ground stations. These ADS-B ground stations are forwarding the traffic information, which is known as the flight data, forwarding it to the air traffic control facilities, such as the airport tower, terminal radar approach control facility, and the air route traffic control center. And before we had this ADS-B, we were using primary radar, which consists of the antenna, the radar display that the controllers need. It consists of the receiver, and it relies on the reflected pulse from the aircraft. It relies on that target. You need a target. Now that is limited because there could be obstructions such as hills or mountains that we need to consider. So we moved on to secondary surveillance radar. Secondary surveillance radar requires the transmitter, the receiver. Basically, the transmitter now is known as an interrogator, which sends out an interrogation signal that the aircraft needs to respond by inputting the transponder code, the 4-digit code that the pilot inputs in order to respond to the interrogation signal and for the controllers to positively identify the aircraft's location. Now we're only getting a sweep rate of 5 to 12 seconds. The sweep rate of 5 to 12 seconds is not efficient enough and effective. So now we have to move on to automatic dependent surveillance broadcast. And the FAA has stated that on their website, faa.gov, with the NextGen for this year, 2017, on their website, they said that there is a mandate for ADS-B. January 1st, 2020. Aircraft must be equipped with ADS-B out. So where did ADS-B out come in? What is that? Is that part of ADS-B, or is that something else that we need to consider? It is a part of ADS-B. And there are two components of ADS-B. ADS-B in and ADS-B out. ADS-B out helps the air traffic controllers. ADS-B in helps the pilots, because the ADS-B out allows the controllers to receive that flight data information, and we are receiving more information than the primary radar or the secondary radar. So we are moving away from those two technologies, and we are moving towards ADS-B. Now with ADS-B, we are given the exact longitude and latitude coordinates, the ground speed, the velocity, the position information, as well as its heading. So the aircraft are automatically broadcasting their signal without the need for an interrogation signal. Automatic. Dependent. The aircraft are dependent on the satellites within space in order for the GPS signal to work in the cockpit. Surveillance. The air traffic controllers are constantly monitoring these aircraft in the sky, and they are making sure that they have the appropriate separation techniques, as well as making sure that they can monitor them even for safety alerts as well, and also in order to track their position just in case if they're an aircraft in distress that is a part of a search and rescue mission. So with ADS-B out, it helps the controllers manage the flow of air traffic more efficiently. Now with ADS-B out is needed for all aircraft, but the general aviation aircraft will not immediately be transitioning to ADS-B out, but eventually they will be in the future because it's more efficient than using the transponder. Now, we have automatic dependent surveillance. Now, broadcast. Aircraft are broadcasting their flight data. An aircraft can also broadcast their flight data to other aircraft within the vicinity of the area or airspace with ADS-B in. Now, the aircraft are broadcasting their signal with ADS-B out, but ADS-B in allows the other aircraft within the vicinity of their route to receive that flight data, which essentially is Traffic Information Service Broadcast, TISB. That is also equipment within the aircraft that allows those pilots to receive the information. the flight data information in order to improve on their situational awareness. Now with traffic information service broadcast, we also get flight information service broadcast while we have ADS-B in. With flight information service broadcast, that's a weather data link. Traffic information service broadcast is a traffic data link. The weather information service broadcast with FISB, it allows us to receive weather charts, so updated weather charts as well, with METARs, aviation routine weather reports, terminal aerodrome forecast, as well as airmets and text-based information, such as notices to airmen. With FISB and TISB, that is contained within ADS-BN. And there will be an increase in air traffic, which is why we have two frequencies, the 978 megahertz frequency and the 1090 megahertz frequency. Now the equipment for the 978 megahertz frequency, all those aircraft operating on that frequency, that is known as the 978 universal access transceiver. For the aircraft that are operating at the higher altitudes, flight level 180 to flight level 600, which means 18,000 feet to 60,000 feet, we'll be operating on the 1090 extended squitter. That is the equipment for the high altitude aircraft. For the aircraft that are operating 17,999 feet and below, we are going to be operating on the 978 megahertz extended squitter. Not extended squitter, universal access transceiver. Universal access transceiver. You see, these things can get complex and technical, which is why we need to focus and study each section of it and break it apart so that we can collect all the pieces of the puzzle and make a masterpiece. Now with the 978 megahertz universal access transceiver and the 1090 extended squitter, we're operating on two types of equipment and two frequencies. So how will the aircraft receive each other's flight data? With ADSR, automatic dependent surveillance rebroadcast. So the aircraft that are operating on 978 megahertz frequency will be broadcasting their signal to the ground station, and that ground station will be forwarding the information to the 1090 megahertz frequency equipped aircraft so that everyone can be aware and maintain visual of their traffic within their vicinity of the area. So ADSR allows the aircraft, ADSR cooperates with both frequencies in order to allow all of the pilots to receive the information. Now with ADS-B, it helps with more coverage because in the Gulf of Mexico and places near Alaska, we haven't received radar coverage, but now we are receiving coverage everywhere now. Now with ADS-B, we are still using ground stations, but they are more cost effective and more improved than the primary radar or secondary surveillance radar. And this benefits the community because we are lowering the amount of harmful emissions from the engines. And hopefully in the future, we could also look at wind energy, maybe from wind turbines. And we are also increasing the amount of flights on our schedule each day, which helps the airlines, and it also puts a smile on every passenger's face. With ADS-B, we're using an optimized profile descent, which instead of leveling off at different altitudes in order to land, we could smoothly transition from en route to the landing phase of flight in order to safely land on the runway and allow the passengers to deplane the aircraft. Deplane means exit the aircraft. Enplane means board the aircraft. And we can get more flights on the schedule. And with ADS-B, we can lower the separation requirements, which helps put more traffic on more routes. And these routes will be a direct, optimized route to our destination. So we are lowering the flight time en route. We are increasing in the amount of aircraft at the airports, which means we're increasing our capacity. And with ADS-B, we will be able to benefit at a economic, social, and environmental standpoint. Because with ADS-B is a more enhanced way of managing traffic. And along with the renovations at each airport, we can implement ADS-B. But the transponder will be a backup in case that there is a GPS malfunction or sunspots. But GPS is a more precise and accurate communication of the position and velocity information. So ADS-B is the way, and it is the future. And we have overcome with many obstacles and challenges throughout the years. And we can continue to improve and grow, climbing the ladder of success. Remember that an airplane does not take off with the wind, it takes off against the wind. So we need to stay informed and keep on growing. Thank you very much. Have a good day.